So one more method to study materia medica, and this method is study on the basis of clinical materia medica. Now we have understood the science and philosophy of homeopathic materia medica. Now to convert this science and philosophy into the operational or into the actual operations on the sick individual, it is also a big task. Now, if you are knowing science, philosophy of homeopathic materia medica, you are memorizing most of the materia medica, but if you are unable to prescribe homeopathic medicines to the sick individual, then it will be utter failure. And it practically happens because of so many symptoms of materia medica, so many books of materia medica. The physicians, the students run away from homeopathy. They say that, oh my God, it is very, very difficult. We can't do it. It is better to practice some another method of medicine, and they just run away. So that is a very bad situation. So what is required is what you have studied, what science, philosophy, materia medica you have studied, you must be able to apply to the sick individual, and all this knowledge should become operational. And to convert this knowledge into its practice, into its application to the sick individual, we require, now there are certain methods of materia medica which are helping us to convert all this science and philosophy into its practical application. So this clinical materia medica comes very handy, or it comes to our help by converting science and philosophy and all materia medica or the application at the application to the sick individual. And this clinical materia medica has the objective conversion of all science, philosophy, knowledge of materia medica. It should be made applicable to the sick individual, and that is the objective of this method of study of homeopathic materia medica. And to achieve this objective, making all this science philosophy operational, these books have given lot of information which is required for actual its application in the sick individual. And for the application of all this, we require certain additional information which is given at one place by this clinical materia medica. Few information we require is what is the pathogenesis of this remedy. So many remedies are indicated for fever, but which remedies are indicated for viral fever, which remedies are indicated for bacterial fever, which remedies are indicated for parasital fever. So viral fever is just allergic, acute upper respiratory tract infection. Bacterial fever is enteric fever, and parasitic fever is malaria. So we must be able to understand. So many medicines have produced this symptom of heat all over the body in the drug group. But in really, out of this medicines, which medicines has a similar pathogenesis of this different kind of pathology? All such knowledge is given. All such knowledge is given in this clinical materia medica. Then again, the clinical verification of disease. For example, aconite is also there, arsenic is also there, bacteria is also there, and cocculus indicus. These 4 remedies are there, having the pathogenesis of producing, say, bacterial fever. But we don't have any information in the routine materia medica out of this, which medicine is good for viral fever, which medicine is good for enteric fever. So such clinical verification, the clinical verification will be aconite will be indicated in the initial stages of fever. Baptisia will be indicated in the stage of fever when the patient becomes toxic, when the patient is very much suffered from high degree of fever, then baptisia will be indicated. So such kind of clinical verification of disease is also given in this materia medica. And then finally, the characteristics are also given. So the things which are required to convert this science and philosophy, the information of pathogenesis, clinical verification of disease, the characteristics, all these are given at one place by this method of study of materia medica. Along with this, we also require certain knowledge about the dose, potency, repetition of the medicine, and all this knowledge is also given in this type of clinical materia medica. So along with this knowledge, along with this pathogenesis, clinical verification, characteristic, after selecting the medicine, it must be given in a proper dose. It must be given in a proper potency. It must be given in a proper repetitions. It must be given for proper duration, and there are certain precautions we should take when we are giving certain medicine. There is certain kind of remedy relationship. We need to follow this remedy relationship after prescribing the first medicine. So such kind of information is the key factor of this method of study of materia medica, and all this information is given in the clinical materia medica only with the objective of converting the materia medica into its practical aspect. So sometimes it is also called as a applied materia medica. Some authors also prefer to call this method as applied materia medica. So to conclude, so this is a method of materia medica where all the science philosophy is made operational, where it is applied. So all the information which is required for the application of the materia medica to the sick individual, like pathogenesis, clinical verification of disease, various characteristic symptoms, the posological aspect of medicine, certain precautions and remedy relationships are also given in the books of clinical materia medica, so that the materia medica becomes easy to apply in the sick individuals. So you must be knowing what is dose, single dose, or repetition, potency, centesimal scale, decimal scale. I think you remember your first year pharmacy, 30 potency, 200 potency, 1M potency, low potency, moderate, high. So all these informations are also given. For example, in Boric's materia medica, if you read the summary part, so there are various instructions are given regarding in which potencies the medicine should be used. Then for how many duration it should be given. It should be given for a week, or it should be given for months together. For example, there is a medicine in the materia medica called as sulfuric acid, and the sulfuric acid is a drug which is used for de-addiction of alcohol habit. And then in this clinical materia medica, instruction is given that the sulfuric acid lower potencies like 6 should be administered by dissolving 10 drops into a cup of water, and it should be given for a duration of months together, and then this medicine will remove that habit of drinking alcohol. So such types of durations are also mentioned, and then there are certain precautions of using the remedies are also given. For example, under medicines like Kalika, it is very clearly mentioned in such clinical materia medica by Boring that Kalika should not be given in the stage of fever or in the stage of heat. So whenever there is a fever, there are three stages. First, there is a stage of illness, then stage of heat, and then there is a sweat. And this clinical materia medica gives information like that. There's under the Kalikarp, that Kalikarp should not be given during the stage of heat. So such precautions are also there. Then under remedies like Cilicia, tuberculinum, the precautions are given. This remedy should not be used in the patients who have already suffered from pulmonary tuberculosis and where that tuberculosis focus is healed and it is calcified. If these remedies are given, they will reopen this kind of this healed tuberculosis focus, and patient will suffer a lot after your such prescriptions. So such kinds of prescriptions are given, and then certain remedy relation aspects are also given in this clinical materia medica. So I hope you are understood what is the objective and of clinical materia medica method, and you have understood what additional information along with the symptoms has been given in the clinical materia medica, so that all this knowledge of materia medica will be applicable to the sick individual. Then, who is the person who has introduced this method of study of materia medica? It is by J.H. Clark. Remember the spelling, don't do spelling mistakes. And then later on, this method of study was popularized by William Borick, and then in the recent century, it is being popularized by Indian authors like S.R. Pathak. I have not mentioned here. Remember that this method is introduced by a great stalwart in the field of materia medica, J.H. Clark, later on popularized by William Borick and S.R. Pathak, the Indian materia medica person. Then we'll study the actual method in how the materia medica is described in this clinical materia medica. So there, if you observe the pages of this materia medica, you will and see a remedy. For example, again, the remedy which I am going to take is Arnica montana. If you open Arnica montana from these books of J.H. Clark, from these books of William Borick, that remedy will be described under three parts. One part will be the introduction, second part will be the anatomical heading, and third part will be the summary part. So in the introductory part, information about the prover, information about the pathogenesis of that remedy, then the sphere of action, where this remedy acts more prominently, whether it acts more prominently on mucous membrane, whether it acts more prominently on the joints, whether it acts more prominently on the GIT. So such kind of information is given, and then the general characteristics of that remedy, which runs throughout the remedy, and which is a important summary of that medicine is given in the introductory part. Then followed by this introductory part, there are anatomical headings from mind to modality. That means first is the mind, then head, then ear, nose, face, stomach, abdomen, up to the extremities, and lastly the modalities. So the various important symptoms are arranged under this anatomical headings. So this is the second part of description of this type of materia medica. And then lastly, in this there is summary part, and in that summary part, important practical information is given, like dose, potency, repetition, precautions of while using the remedy, while using the potencies, or how much durations this medicine should be used. So all such kinds of practical tips, practical tips is a good word. So also type of practical aspect, practical knowledge is given in the summary part. Then along with that, sometimes comparison of remedies are also given. Along with that, information about the rare medicine in one or two lines is also given. Then remedy relationship. If this medicine proves this medicine create some adverse effects, how we are going to antidote it, how we are going to complete the incomplete action of this medicine. For example, a well-known example is of belladonna and Valkyria carb. Thus, if you use initially belladonna, it will be partially, but it is to be followed by Valkyria carb. The followed well. There is one more important topic in your syllabus, that is relationship of remedies. At that time, it will be clear. So, but remember how the materia medica is described in this type of study. First introduction, then anatomical heading, and then summary. Then what are the examples of this type of clinical materia medica and merit and demerit. So first is the merit. So all the practical information is given at one place. You don't have to wander here and there to from books to books to collect all this information. So all the practical information is given at one place, and then only clinically verified symptoms are given, or whatever information, whatever knowledge is given, they are clinically verified by themselves. Then the introductory part is an excellent source of information, or if you just read the introductory part, maximum information will collect about that remedy. Then there are different kinds of typographies. The different types of typographies means some symptoms are printed in a bold letter, that is thick letters. Some symptoms are printed in italics. Some symptoms are printed in a Roman or without any emphasis in Roman letters, and this indicates so the remedies, so the symptoms which are printed in the bold letters, they are more important. Symptoms printed in the italics, they are moderately important. Symptoms printed in the Roman letters, they are less important. So this concept of indicating the importance of symptoms indicated by different types of letters. It is called as the grading of symptom. So grading of symptom is a merit of this type of materia medica, and it is a very good knowledge source for the rare remedies like Indian drugs, like very rare species like centuries, Pontorex. All these lesser known remedies are important information given in this clinical materia medica. And unfortunately, there are also certain demerits. That the demerit of this method is, there are only limited number of medicines are there, and the regular updatation work is not done properly. These are the demerits, merits, and then lastly, the example of this type of method of materia medica is the most common example is a dictionary of practical materia medica by J.H. Clark, which is there in 3 volumes. Then Pocket Manual of Homeopathic Materia Medica by William Borick, and the recent one is Materia Medica of Homeopathic Medicine by S.R. Pathak. Now, one more demerit I have mentioned is the lack updates in the this type of clinical materia medica. So we are still using that dictionary of practical materia medica by J.H. Clark, which was written in the 18th century. We are still using this homeopathic materia medica by William Borick, which was written in the year 1920. updation. So once they are written, it is written. Nobody has added any remedies. There is no additions into the information in these books. And lastly, the materia medica of homeopathic medicines by S.R. Pathak. So these are the examples of this clinical type of materia medica, or this is all about study on the rest of clinical materia medica. So with this, we will conclude that you have understood. If you have any difficulty, please ask me.